Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Everyone can see my screen, correct? Okay. Just so you know, this workshop will be recorded, but none of your names or your video will be released. So hi, my name is Jessica Waits. I am the Academic Outreach Graduate Assistant for SARC. I'm here with Pam Mills from Wellness and Health Promotion Services, and today we're going to be talking about no stress zone, managing your stress, and talking a little bit about the stress and anxiety that comes from test taking as well. Pam, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. As Jessica said, I work at Wellness and Health Promotion Services, and I oversee the stress management programming and services. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into the slides.
Yeah. I just want to make sure. Sorry, I don't know. It doesn't work half the time. I have to like restart it. Sorry, technical difficulties. All right, let me start it again. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go a little bit of an overview of services of each of our departments, just so you know what we offer. So Pam is going to talk to you first about WHPS. I'm sorry, this is not working for some reason. It was just working a second ago.
I know. I don't know if you have to go totally full. I've had this problem too with PowerPoints. If you have to have the whole screen.
Let me try this.
I've also done it where you don't have. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. This one looks a little bit better because I shared it a different way. So sorry, everyone.
Well, again, WHPS, it stands for Wellness and Health Promotion Services. And we are located on the ground floor of the main RWC building on campus, on the main campus. We also have an office downtown in Union West. And on main campus, our entrance is kind of across from the Polio Tropical. It's to the left of the stairs when you look at the RWC. And our mission, is really just to cultivate a culture of well-being for students, and a place where students can learn and practice these skills that they'll use for a lifetime that improves your quality of life. And we have different services, as you can see, and they're broken up into different areas. So under social wellness, the services that we provide are free HIV testing and counseling, along with free condoms. And those free condoms are located in our lobby as well as other places on campus. We also now, we just brought on the initiative of alcohol and other drug prevention services this past summer. So we offer Screen You, which is an online, we call it an online interactive platform where you can assess your alcohol usage risks. That's helpful for students staying healthy. And then under nutrition, we have cooking classes and cooking demos. We are doing all those over Zoom right now. So if anyone's wondering when these events are happening, you can always just go to our website. And we also have our recipes that we take from the classes. They're always on our website as well. And then stress management services, like I said, I oversee that area and offer biofeedback counseling and core mindfulness classes, along with meditation classes that are taught through the RWC's group exercise program. And on our website, we also have free meditations that you can access any time of the day. So you don't have to go and have an appointment with anybody. You can just actually go on our website. And those meditations are under our resource tab. And one of them actually, I did a year ago, is on test taking. So appropriate for today's discussion. And then we also have wellness coaching. And you can meet with a wellness coach. That's also over Zoom right now, where you would work on any health goals you might have to achieving well-being, such as nutrition again, or maybe time management, financial wellness, and all different topics. And for any of these services, you can call our department and go to our website to find out more about them.
All right, and a little bit about SARC. I can't see the chat, so if y'all want to unmute your mics, does anybody, can they tell me a little bit about SARC or what services that we offer? Hint, hint, you're at a service right now. Anybody?
Tutoring.
Tutoring, that's a good one. All right, we'll move on and talk a little bit about, we do offer tutoring as well as other academic support. So peer tutoring is when you can go into group setting. Right now we have most of our group tutoring sessions over Zoom. The schedule is on our website, so be sure to check that out if you need help in any of your academic courses. Supplemental instruction is a little bit different. Now, while these SI leaders still serve as kind of like a tutor, they are actually assigned to a specific course with a specific professor. So if you need help in one of your courses that you're taking, you should already know of the SI courses available to you. If you're not sure, you can always check the SI schedule on our website as well. Academic coaching and engagement is a great program that we have. It's more of a one-on-one academic counseling support. So basically our coaches are trained to talk to you about time management, study skills, just kind of helping you plan out your semester. Maybe you're having trouble balancing your time, going between online school or work or things like that. So ACE coaches are always there to help you in a one-on-one setting. We also do these all over Zoom right now. And then we have online instructional peer coaching. These are actually our ACE coaches as well, but for this semester, they have been trained to help you navigate web courses, navigate online courses if you need any sort of online resources. They're very knowledgeable about what's available to you. And they can also help you plan out your semester by looking at your course syllabi and things of that nature. So both of those services, you can schedule those on our website as well under the ACE/OIPC tab. And academic success workshops, congratulations, you're using a SARC service right now. So these workshops, we do a series of 6 every semester. This is our 3rd one, so thank you all for coming. If you are interested in any of our future topics, feel free to look at the rest of the schedule. That's how you got to this workshop today, so you have that for you. And then online support. We have a website called SARC Online. It is now attached to our main domain. So if you go directly on the SARC website, we have a tab that says SARC Online. So you can click that and we have learning skills resources. One of the handouts that we're using today is located on that website. So feel free to poke around and get other resources as well.
Okay, so we're talking about stress today. That's the workshop is a no stress zone. So academic pressures that can cause stress. When we call these pressures stressors, so an example of a stressor could be, maybe poor time management or study skills, or maybe just doing poorly in a class right now and just feeling kind of the stress from that. So the stress comes in how we respond to the stressor. So kind of going into a little bit of the anatomy of stress, the stress response, is our hardwired reaction in our brain to a stressor that was designed to help us, stay alive. It comes when we feel threatened. So we kind of refer to it more commonly as the fight or flight response. And so when this response occurs, we feel that in our bodies. The body releases chemicals, hormones, and it helps prepare you to face that threat or to run, to flee to safety. So you might feel your pulse quickening, breathing faster, your muscles tense up. All of those things, all those functions are aimed at survival. So in the short term, this can help you to kind of rise to the occasion, you get that burst of energy and you're like, okay, I can do this. And you maybe do better on an exam, and it can even boost the immune system in the short term. And we call that kind of stress eustress. So it's the good stress, we call it. The problem is, and this is where kind of stress can affect our academic achievements, is stress can become chronic and adaptive. And so the stressors that we face are creating now a hypervigilant nervous system, which is really not good. You might be experiencing now all the time that kind of hyperarousal state, or maybe your stomach issues, or maybe frequent colds because now your immune system is being suppressed by this increase in stress. Memory issues could happen, so then you feel like you froze when you're about to take a test, maybe even just increased irritability and just anxiety in general. So we call that, when that is occurring, distress. And so the thing about distress is you might not even be aware of it, because when you adapt to the stress in your life, it's what's normal for you. So you kind of almost normalize that feeling of not being able to remember stuff when you get to a test. So on the next slide, we talk a little bit more about this can lead to then health issues. So on the next slide, whoops, will it not go?
Sorry.
That's okay. An interesting fact, stress is the top health concern for US teens between 9th and 12th grade. And then when you get into college, what we see on the ACHA report every year, which is the college way of assessing health in college students every year, stress and anxiety are the top academic impediments. And then you can see from this graphic that 70 to 80% of illnesses are stress related. So health, academic success, these are all important areas that how we are affected by stress that can affect. And kind of building off of stress is anxiety. And Jessica's going to talk a little bit more about that in the next slide.
All right, so can anyone tell me what anxiety is, or how do they feel when they have anxiety? Anyone?
Increased heart rate?
Yes, increased heart rate. So that can be a side effect of anxiety. And we know that stress causes anxiety, right? So what is that anxiety to you? How does it manifest in yourself? So like this meme says, what if this happens? So we're thinking about something that could occur, but but it won't. Your anxiety says, but what if it does? Me, you got me there. So basically our anxiety is worrying about things that aren't necessarily a problem yet, or thinking we're going to do poorly on something when really we're actually very well prepared. It's just mostly psychological and like in our brains that we're not going to do well for something. So how do you know when you're anxious? See, these are typical signs: holding your breath or quick breathing, hyperarousal or awareness. So whenever we have, this happened to us before and we're thinking about it again, we get kind of the same reaction because we were nervous before and maybe something didn't turn out the way we wanted it to, but we're better prepared this time. You can still get a little anxious over things. Your muscles can tense, you have racing thoughts. For me, rapid heart rate is definitely a symptom of my anxiety when I do feel anxious about things. And nausea or cold or sweaty palms. I also shake a little bit my palms when I'm nervous about something. Does anybody identify with any of these symptoms whenever they're feeling anxious about anything?
Yes.
Yeah. Does anybody have anything else that they think that they feel that's not typically listed on here?
I feel jumpy, like I can't stay still.
Jumpy. My leg will do that thing where it just goes like this and it shakes and I'm kicking the ground or something like that. So we definitely all show anxiety in different ways, and that's also important to remember whenever you see someone that's really nervous before a test, maybe or right before a presentation. If you show them their signs of, quick breathing, they're maybe a little sweaty or nervous, that's definitely forms of anxiety. So different forms of anxiety are everyday anxiety, and then there's also anxiety disorder. There's definitely a distinct difference between these, because everyday anxiety can be worrying about your breakup, your social life, or paying your bills on time. Feeling self-conscious in large groups. This can also be presentations and things of that nature. Or nervousness before an exam or presentation. We'll talk a little bit more about test anxiety specifically and how you can combat that. For an anxiety disorder, this is constant, unwarranted worry that affects your day. So if we'll go through the day without worrying about every little thing that you're doing. You avoid situations because of fear, and you have constant panic attacks at the thought of taking exams. You can't concentrate in school, things of that nature. That's a little bit of a bigger problem that we'll need to address. So how does test anxiety differ from this? Does anybody here get test anxiety? I know I do. Yeah, so I see a lot of head nods. So test anxiety can be in the form of sweating. You feel like you're not prepared. You don't know, the material well enough when you really do. You've been studying this entire time. Rapid breathing, rapid heart rate, you have a tummy ache, you're trembling. These are definitely forms of test anxiety, and other people do manifest test anxiety in other ways to where it can negatively affect their performance. We see this in students who, maybe the day of, they get nervous and they make a little note card to try to cheat or things like that. There's different forms of how this test anxiety can affect us in our performance and make us do questionable things in our career at school. So what are our options? Pam is going to tell us how we can change the way we think about stress.
So as Jessica just really highlighted, the stress and anxiety are there, and we really can't avoid them. So the idea that we can just run away, put our head in the sand is not going to help. That's really not an option, because stress happens even when you get out of school. You're always going to have something as part of like the human condition. But the way to cope with the stress is to really learn ways to just manage your everyday stress and being proactive about it. So perhaps learning relaxation techniques, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But one really important way, and we don't talk about this a lot, is how we view stress really affects how we feel. So our perceptions of a stressor affect us more than the stressor itself. So like kind of Jessica was just talking about, if you had a past experience with something and it wasn't good, we kind of carry that forward. So let's say a stressor you might have right now is a math exam in a week. And so you're trying to learn the material for the test. In itself, that can be stressful because you're learning something new, and that's normal. If you weren't having any stress with that, you would kind of wonder where the motivation is then too. So like I was saying before, stress helps with motivating you. But if you're constantly worrying about the math exam, and even worrying about just the stress that you're feeling about the math exam, and you're procrastinating now because you think it's going to be too hard and you won't understand it. And maybe you're going back to some negative thinking of like, I'm no good at math. And that just kind of keeps on coming up and reoccurring in your mind. Well, all of those perceptions actually create more stress than just actually sitting down and learning the material and really doing what's needed, even though it might be stressful to do that. So as we just learned about, when you're having the stress response, and as Jessica was just talking about with test anxiety, it actually can affect your concentration. And so it's all then adding more to worrying to the actual situation that's going on. So it's making it harder for you to study. So just noticing that and then changing your view of the test. So perhaps telling yourself like positive message like, I'm smart, I can do this. Instead of getting kind of sucked into that, believing all that negative thinking, you can really kind of just change things around. So thinking can definitely influence how we feel physically and mentally. And there's actually science to back that all up. So on the next slide, we'll see what happens when you view stress in a positive way. So the information on this slide, it comes from a study done in 2012 at Harvard University. And in this study, people's blood vessels actually stayed relaxed. So they didn't constrict, which what they would normally do during a stressful event. And they stayed relaxed because they viewed stress as helpful, not harmful. So literally how they perceived the stress affected their physical bodies. And I love, we do a stress presentation in our department as well, and talk about a TED Talk that we show by Dr. Kelly McGonigal. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but I highly recommend it. It's called How to Make Stress Your Friend. And it's really good because it kind of helps you view stress in a different way. So you're not viewing stress anymore as bad, but you're viewing it as something that can help you. So it's like you feel your heart racing, like we were talking about with maybe a test is coming up. So instead of being like, oh, I'm stressed, I'm not going to be able to do the test now, you could say instead, you know, my body's gearing up. It's doing what I'm supposed to do so I can ace this test. This is normal. And again, kind of just a little disclaimer, and similar to what Jessica was saying, you know, some people might have anxiety disorders. Other people respond to stressors in different ways. So I don't want to minimize that feeling that you're having, or that just by simply thinking positive all the time, it's going to, you know, make that stress go away. But the more you practice that kind of reframing of the stress, the more you have that ability, you know, just to kind of be in a framework to not get caught up into that kind of stress and sucked into that anxiety place. And it's also important to note that, you know, along with the positive perspective, that we also have the good time management skills, being prepared, all of those things alleviate stress as well. And Jessica is going to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so exactly that, Pam. Combating your anxiety requires time management, good study habits, and self-discipline. So we're going to delve a little bit into each of these topics. So the most common misconception that we have is change. You know how we want to change our minds about stress. We also need to change our minds about the time that we have. So one of the most common excuses that we find students tell us is, you know, I don't really have enough time in my week. I have too many things to do, too much stuff going on. I actually don't have time to study. Well, there is time, and we did a little breakdown. So there's 168 hours in 1 week. So let's say we have a full class schedule, 15 hours in class. Most of the time, this is an overshoot because we don't typically spend 15 hours in class. That is if the professor cancels class or if it's a recorded lecture. But this is if you have a full class schedule. 56 hours of sleeping, that's if you get 8 hours at night. I try to get 8 hours, but it's very rare. And then 21 hours of eating, which is 3 hours a day. I don't know about y'all, but I can eat in 15 to 20 minutes. So we definitely give you a little bit of room on this. So this is not just strictly the time that you actually spend. This is even in like an overkill. That leaves you with 76 hours that can be used by 20 hours working. Let's say you have a part-time job. And 25 hours of relaxing and socializing. This is an entire day and 1 hour of just having fun, doing whatever you need to do for your self-care time, which means that you could have 31 hours left for studying. So where do we think this 31 hours left for studying goes? Can anyone share what they think that they do with their time? Maybe they procrastinate or watch too many Netflix documentaries, something like that. Does anyone feel like they don't have enough time in their week? Yeah, sometimes it does feel that way. Maybe you have a really busy week sometimes, but if we sit there and we plan it out, we can get through it together. So I wanted to drop in the chat a useful file for you all. Give me a second to pull it to my desktop. And what basically this is a student scheduler. This is on the SARC Online website. I did just drop it in the chat, so if you download it, you can see. This is just an example of something that you can do with the student scheduler. It's an Excel document and it has all of these times listed. So what this person did was they listed the times that they were going to eat, their extracurriculars. They even have included their travel time, so how much it takes to get from one place to the other if you have on classes in person. That's what I was trying to say. And dinner time, study time, time with family, personal time. No, so this is a little expensive because they even have their sleep time formed in here. So I'd say whenever you're trying to build your schedule for the week or the month or however you need to plan out your schedule to be able to study and reduce your stress and anxiety about tests or final prep or projects that are coming up, I would say go ahead and focus on 4 main things. My fingers said 3, but I mean 4. Those 4 main things. Can anybody guess what I want you to put on your schedule? Anybody? What's the most important thing? Why are we all here?
School.
School. Good. We have 1. So your classes. I want you to be able to put your classes in there. Even if you don't, maybe you don't physically go to a class right now, If you don't sit in on Zoom lectures, go ahead and put a time that you're going to set for yourself. You're going to sit down for 2 hours and watch this recorded lecture. So you need to be able to put your school on there, because that is the most important thing. It's the reason why you're here. It's the reason why we're all here, is to get our degrees and get through school. So that's the number one thing you should have on your schedule first. Your second thing, what do we do? How do you make money? How do you get through life? You work, right? So I need you to put your work times on there. That's also very important. It's how you stay in school, and it's also how you just provide for yourself and honestly see your friends and go to work and live. So you need to have work on there as well. The third one I wanted to add was any SI or SARC sessions, or even time that you schedule an ACE appointment. So basically, we're preparing ourselves to take that extra time, that extra step to attend those sessions or schedule an appointment to invest in yourself. So these are not really wastes of time, in my opinion. If you go to one SARC session, it will honestly change your life. I feel like people don't really know what goes on in those sessions. And when you see hand in hand how there is someone directly on the other side of the Zoom call that can help you with this issue that you've been struggling with, it honestly changes your perspective on academics, because it can help you, you know, when you're typically trained to think, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm so stressed about this, like it gives me anxiety even just opening my homework. If you are paired with someone just for 30 minutes talking to them about one simple process, it opens your mind of thinking, wow, I can do this. You know, I was just stressed before, but it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to get that help. So definitely put any sessions on there that you need. And the fourth one that I wanted to add was personal care. So you need to be able to take time for yourself, do whatever you like to do. This could be, see what this person put, yoga, they put personal time, dinner with family. Those are all things you definitely need to have into your schedule, because we're not robots. We don't want you to work and go to school and go to sleep. We want you to have a life as well. And if we're able to plan out these things, you will have that extra time to have with your family, with your friends, however you like to spend your time on the weekends. You know, for me, I say I do no homework on Saturday. That is like just my thing that I need to take Saturday for myself. And then Sunday is really my homework day. I don't hang out with anyone on Sundays. So for me, that's what works. For you, it might be different. Maybe your schedule is different and you work on the weekends. You can always plan it to where it works for you. So I did drop that file in the chat, and feel free to use it. You can start out with a weekly planner like this, and if it helps you, if it doesn't, if you find that it's too tedious to fill it out every week, try for a monthly planner. You know, this is up to you. You can change it however you see fit, and everyone is different. That's really important to remember, is that something that works for one person might not always work for another. So I like my weekly planner. I actually have a to-do list. I have to check off my boxes. Some people don't like written things. They like, you know, an Outlook calendar, a Google calendar, whatever works for you. You can keep it digital. You can keep it written. You can keep it half and half. However you find that you're going to have those personal reminders, and hold yourself accountable for your time. Does anyone have any questions so far? Feel free to just unmute yourself and jump into the chat if you ever have anything to say about any of this. But I'm going to go a little bit into how we study. So there's really 3 different ways we study. So studying for understanding. We go to class and we ask questions and we take notes. So for this first step, I know some people might not even do this part. They might not go to class. They might not sit in on these Zoom lectures. If attendance isn't required, you might not go to class. If you're watching the recorded lecture later, what do you do if you have a question? Do you email the professor, or do you just say, you know what, forget it, maybe I'll get this concept later? This is also another time that SI or SARC or peer tutoring sessions could be helpful, because maybe you need to ask those questions and the professor isn't available, and you know a SARC session is starting in 2 hours. Maybe I should drop in and ask a question. So basically asking questions and taking notes, these can help us basically understand the material. Also reading your textbooks, the whole chapter, yes. I know sometimes we skim and things like that, but if we really have trouble grasping a concept, if you read the textbook in its entirety, especially the chapters that you're having struggle with, you can take notes on that, highlight your notes, read through your notes. You can also meet with your professor to clarify information. Professors hold office hours. They show up to those office hours, and guess who doesn't show up to those office hours? Students, so they are always psyched to see people come in and ask them questions. They almost love it whenever people come in. Plus, it doesn't hurt to start to build professional connections with your faculty. Maybe you need a letter of recommendation for med school. Maybe you need, you know, a reference for a job that's coming up, or even for grad school. So basically, it's not a horrible idea to go to a professor's office hours and ask your questions and maybe just bond with them a little bit, figure out, you know, how they got to where they are and how they can help you and maybe become a mentor for you. Specifically with what you're struggling with, if you tell them what you do and don't understand, they're very rarely going to tell you that they can't help you. Even if they don't want to give you that direct one-on-one help, they'll be able to give you a resource about where you can go for help, because they know with the subject that they teach what students typically struggle with, and they know where to refer you to. And making a study plan. Schedule your study times and be specific. So going back to making your schedule, whenever you put on your schedule, okay, I'm going to study for my math class. Instead of just saying study for math class, you should be writing something like read chapters 2 and 3 for math. And that way you understand, you know, the concept and like what you're actually going to be doing with that time, and not just like a vague thing that you have on your schedule. For me, I split up my chapters. So let's say I need to have a chapter read by Wednesday, and it's, you know, 30 pages. I'll have read 10 pages on Monday, read 10 pages on Tuesday, read 10 pages on Wednesday before class. And that's 30 pages. But really, I feel like I've only read 10 pages a day, and it's not that overwhelming for me. So breaking up your study times and being specific can really help you with your schedule, because it makes it feel you're less overwhelmed. It's not like that much work when you split it up that way. And that way too, you can, if you have multiple things going on in multiple days, you can spend an hour working on materials for one class and another hour on materials for a second class. So it really helps you break up your study times and makes you feel less overwhelmed and stressed. So studying to check for learning. After we've studied for understanding, we need to make sure we understand the material. So self-test is very important. You can do this in study groups, over Zoom. If you have roommates, maybe I know me and my roommates, whenever our quarantine started, we started calling it fake library, and we would just sit at our dining room table and all work on our own materials, and, you know, take every 30 minutes, take a little break to check our phones or things like that. And you can always ask someone for a study buddy, maybe make a test for yourself, take it and get your friend to check it for you. Make sure you have like an answer key that you can go back and check. And you want to do this 2 to 3 times per week, especially if you're struggling with a subject. That way you can self-test your knowledge and go back and work on the areas that you really think you need extra help in. And do you actually know it? Check for accuracy and completeness. I know we like to give ourselves a break a lot of, I didn't know this now, but I'll know it by the time the test comes around. Make sure you know it by the time the test comes around, because we can always let those things slip from the back of our mind. And try to teach someone else the material. Maybe in that study group, you have someone who's in a different class than you. If you try to sit there and explain a concept to someone, you will know whether or not you know it, because you will know whether or not you're saying the right thing. So if it sounds any sort of, if you're not sure of something, always just make sure you check for your learning and know what you're actually teaching someone else is correct. So tips for exam day. When you're sitting there about to take your exam, you're probably very nervous, but you know that you've studied, you've followed your schedule, you've gone over the concept time and time again, even with your friends. So always go with your first instincts. Don't second guess yourself. This is a personal bad habit of mine. I always will read a question in its entirety, read all of the answer choices, gravitate towards one, and right when I'm about to bubble in an answer, I say, wait, what if it's this one? And then 9 times out of 10, it was the correct answer to begin with. So don't second guess yourself. Even in the ones, the questions that you are second guessing yourself, go ahead and put your first instinct answer and circle the number or something and come back to it later when you have extra time. That way we're not spending all of our time on this one question. Answer questions worth most amount of points first. Some people like to do this, so they ensure that they get the, they spend more time on the questions that matter more to them. If you start to freak out, remember that no test is the difference between life or death. Even though this exam may be very important, it will not kill you. your stress can kill you. So please remember to calm down in the moment. Remember that this is a test. In the end, it might be a bad grade, but you can always talk with your professor, do some extra credit, study more next time. It's not the end of the world. Skip the hard ones, come back to them at the end. This is kind of goes with the second guessing yourself on those answers. Maybe you should skip one that you're not very confident in and come back to it when you have more time. Keep focused, take deep breaths to relax during your test. Maybe you're a little overwhelmed, but honestly, it's wonderful what a deep breath can help you with. Really clears your mind and makes all your nerves just go away, at least for a second. So just take some deep breaths and try to relax. And take your time. It's not a race. The first one done doesn't necessarily get the best grade. So I can speak to this personally because I had a friend who would always try to finish first. I thought it was kind of weird, but he would always try to be the first in the class to finish. And most of the time, his grades did not reflect the time he took on the test. So just never try to be in that mindset for yourself, because everyone tests differently, everyone studies differently, and honestly everyone has different views about grades. Maybe as long as they're passing, they don't care. They're just going to put whatever they want on the test, whatever they think it is. Don't do that to yourself. Make sure you are comfortable with what you submit, because it's a reflection on your own work.
Okay. And then as Jessica was saying, when we were putting that schedule together, making personal time for yourself to do something stress relieving. So and these are just a bunch of preventative ideas to just create that relaxation. So when you do encounter stressors, which we said you're it's going to happen, you don't have maybe as strong a stress response. And relaxing things can actually create more resiliency against stress. And some of the things listed here, like exercise, all those continually, research shows that one of the best ways to manage stress is to exercise on a regular basis and practice relaxation techniques. And this is really because both exercise and practicing relaxation both turn that stress response into the relaxation response, which will actually help you function better. They'll be able to help you think better on the test. And this happens because, kind of going back to the anatomy again, the fight or flight response, when you exercise, you're actually answering the fight or flight prompt. So you have that urge to physically do something along, with that need to run or defend yourself. You're doing that when you're exercising. You might be jogging or releasing that built up physical energy. And then practicing relaxation techniques similarly affect the stress response by bringing the nervous system just more down to a less hypervigilant, more calm, alert state. And so if you're able to practice these consistently, it creates a prevention. It kind of gives you that, again, that resiliency, that ability to, when you are up against a question on a test, if you're not sure of the answer, to be able to pull in a breath and to do that, because you have that ability to know what relaxation feels like. So stress isn't that total normal feeling for you. And then we have more about our services for stress management on the next slide, which I talked a little bit about. Here's a list of all our current programming that we have. The biofeedback program, I do that. It's we meet once a week on campus. I'm on main campus on Thursdays and downtown on Mondays. So biofeedback counseling, we're doing it for 4 sessions right now, and you're being guided through different relaxation techniques while at the same time being monitored by sensors that are attached to you to give you feedback on how you're relaxing. So the areas that we talked about that occur when you're stressed, the same things occur when you're relaxed, it's just the opposite. So your heart rate is slower, your muscles relax, your skin temperature is warmer, your sweaty palms aren't as sweaty anymore. All of those things that you feel when you're nervous, you have the opposite effect, but we don't always recognize what that feels like, and we don't strengthen that response. So biofeedback helps train you to strengthen that response. And the program, it's appointment-based. So you call our office to make an appointment. I'm doing the intakes right now virtually. And then, like I said, I'm on campus main campus on Thursdays and downtown on Mondays. And then we have a new program, Core Mindfulness. It's an international program actually designed for college-age students. It meets once a week for 4 weeks, and you just learn different mindfulness skills. And a free book comes with it and a free app. So you're able to, again, engage in that, taking a breath while you're doing a test, but also being more in tune with how your body's responding, even when you're studying. So sometimes we don't even realize that if we're in the stress response while we're studying, we're not, absorbing as much, learning as much as we could be, because you're still in that worry state. And then meditation class, another great way to bring balance into your life. We're offering meditation classes through the RWC, their group exercise program. We have Yoga Nidra on Mondays at 4 o'clock. So you can tune into that. You would just go to their website and sign up as if you were going to like a group X class on campus. You're just doing it virtually now. And then we have wellness coaching as well, where again, you can meet one-on-one with a wellness coach, just, help with stress management. And then on our website, we also, I already talked a little bit about this, was on the resource tab. You can find online meditations that are free, always available. There's a test-taking activity or a test-taking meditation on there, but there's also one that's just like a 3-minute breathing meditation. And I'm actually going to take you through like a breath awareness meditation right now. So you can just kind of experience, if you like try and do something like this every day, how that actually, again, kind of instills that resiliency. And then you're able to use the breath, use it to help you. As like Jessica was saying, it can really help turn around your thinking when you're in the moment of stress. So if we're all okay with that, I just invite you to get into a comfortable position so you can practice a little bit of breathing. So maybe you want to, if you're sitting down right now, put your feet on the floor. Make your back straight, alert but comfortable feeling. And let your hands rest in your lap. And then you can just gently let your eyelids close. If you're comfortable with that, or you can just have a soft gaze down towards the floor. And we're just going to begin by checking in with your body for a few moments. Just try and notice, without judging, how you feel physically and emotionally. Now gently move your awareness to your breath. And notice where you most easily feel your breath. So it gently moves in and out of your body. Just bring awareness to that place where you most easily feel your breath. Allow your breath to be natural, not forced, not pressured. Just noticing. And as you focus on your breath, you might notice many thoughts arising, maybe about what you've been doing today or what you still need to do. See if you can just let those thoughts go as you settle into this space. Just allowing your awareness of the present moment to open up. Trying to release any judgments, any plans or worries. Being open to the moment, open to your breath. Continuing to calm your body and mind as you return your attention again and again to your breath. Using your breath to anchor you in this present moment experience. And again, if you notice your mind wandering, just bringing it back to the breath. And in a moment, I'll ring the bell to signal the end of this breath awareness. And you can let your eyes gently open when you hear the bell ring. So I hope that was a good example of something that you can practice on your own. I really like breath awareness techniques because it can really help you be mindful of even if you're feeling a little bit nervous and kind of going into that instead of responding to that mentally and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm nervous, I can't do what I need to do. You're just being with it, observing, noticing in a non-judgmental way. And then again, the breath kind of recalibrates you, helps you to get back to doing what you need to do.
Yes, thank you so much, Pam. I definitely feel very relaxed now.
Your second meditation of the day.
So moving on. Oh, I think while we were meditating, our PowerPoint again stopped working. Oh, so to wrap up, if test anxiety persists in spite of your efforts to control it, make an appointment at CAPS to meet with a counselor. Again, if you're more of experiencing that everyday anxiety that never really goes away, talking with a CAPS counselor can help you, along with doing the guided meditations that WHPS offers. And remember that academic resources may help you manage that stress if you're struggling with classes, if it's one of your main concerns. You can also make an appointment with an ACE coach, and they'll be able to guide you in time management, study skills, and other helpful tips and tricks to get you through this remote instruction. And if you're struggling to stick with it, develop a UCF support team. UCF has all of these great resources available to you, along with the ones listed on the left-hand side. So your professor, we talked about this before, going to your professor's office hours, they're always there to help you, and they know exactly where to tell you to go for those extra resources. Your academic advisor, if you need help building your class schedule, or just want to make sure you're on track to graduation, that can also alleviate your stress. Student financial assistance, if you need help with maybe paying for classes, paying for those extra courses, there's always a plethora of scholarships that are available to you. Career services can help you prepare if you're nervous about a job interview or an internship or anything like that. Career services does resume critiques, they do cover letter critiques, they also do practice interviews for you. So if you're really nervous about your job interview, maybe doing a practice round will help alleviate your stress. The Counseling Center, again, we talked about going to CAPS for any of your, if you have persistent anxiety that doesn't really go away, and you might need to talk to someone about some extra resources for that, always suggest the Counseling Center. The Student Academic Resource Center, congrats, you just finished your workshop that you came for. So hopefully this helped you a little bit, know what's available to you and how you can alleviate your stress before a big exam or anything academic that you're stressed about. UCF Cares, the UCF website, and friends and roommates and a study buddy and family. Any of your support systems around you can really help, alleviate that stress. Even if you just vent about things, sometimes that can help you, stay on track and make sure you're not too overwhelmed in the moment. We always need our support systems to help us get through, because college is sometimes can be a hard time. So we understand that, and that's why we have all of these great resources for you. So now that you know how to manage test anxiety, chart on nights, we did want to leave we have our social medias handles up here on the left-hand side. Go ahead and give us a follow. We have updates on all of our services, regular occurrences that are happening within our offices. Our contact information is right here on the right-hand side. In the chat box, I am going to drop again the Qualtrics for you. So if you need, if anyone needs to know that you were here, if this was for a class requirement or anything, feel free to fill out the Qualtrics. It only takes 1 minute to complete. This is also just for us as well. So even if you don't need to let someone know that you were here, please let us know how we did. It's a very short evaluation. So we appreciate you all for coming, and we're gonna stick around for a couple minutes just in case anyone has any questions or anything like that. Does anyone have any questions for me now?